Hi folks, this is kind of a late review of the TP4B from Vito Pro Pack. I know a bunch of professionals have already reviewed this, and I'm going to review it from the perspective of a homeowner, a DIYer, rather than somebody who actually has to use this every single day. And I also wanted to talk about how I came up with this pack. I used to have a pack that weighed about, I don't know, maybe 45 pounds. And it had every freaking tool. I could actually disassemble a car engine and probably put it together with most of the parts in. Is really complete, but it's stupid. It was stupidly complete because I didn't need most of the stuff most of the time. And so I was getting a second house, and I didn't want to build out the same pack there, and I didn't want to carry back and forth between the two places. So I decided to build out a pack that I could probably make it work in this new place where almost everything was already done. All I had to do was some minor things like add electrical switches, fans, different electrical things, some plumbing stuff, that stuff. So I did that, and I came up with a really pretty decent pack. And then I said, okay, now that I moved back to my other house, my original house, I wanted to do the same kind of pack, and this is the version 2 of the pack, which changes a few of the tools out. Most of them are identical in function, but different brands. You'll see that most of these things are Knipex, but I got a couple Kleins in there. I chose to get the Kleins instead because the Kleins are a little bit more robust for needle nose and dikes. And the other thing I want to talk about is how I put this together, how I use this pack. The TP4B practically begs for you to stick screwdrivers into these spots here. And that's, I guess, okay, but you won't be able to get very much in there. And for the most part, you don't really need a lot of screwdrivers. You can just use a couple of handles and a bunch of bits. So there's a better use for these. And I'm going to show you that right now. First off, well, some of them I'm not going to show you immediately, but I'll just show you where I get my lineman's pliers. They're the big honking things, almost a hammer. You almost don't need a hammer if you have one of these. And that goes into the deep pocket. There's 2 of these deep pockets that you can put things that are rather large. So that's where that goes. Then I got a couple of Cobras over here. You can see that anytime you have a set of Cobras or any water pump pliers, you're going to need 2 of them because you're going to want to be able to do that kind of stuff. And rather than getting 2 identical Cobras, I got the regular standard Cobras, and then I got the narrow jaw ones, or what they call the extra slims. And so they have a slimmer profile, but mainly the beak reaches into tighter spots. And so this is a regular Cobra. Opens up like that. This opens, both of them open to the same space. Just one is made for different problem spaces. So anyway, this is where we start showing you how I'm putting this together differently so it fits into the pack better. God damn it. Yeah, let's straighten this up a bit better. So normally people just jam these things in, and pretty soon you got an ocean of handles. You can't tell which is which. And what I'm telling you here is that if you do this and use these screw handle holes for your pliers, you get to see what the what the head is, and then you don't have to worry about you're not looking to see handles, you're looking at the heads. And so I've got a pliers wrench. You've seen pliers wrench, you know what they're for. There's plenty of reviews of these things. Jam that into here. And then there's the steadfastly weird Raptors, and this is a little bit different than the pliers wrench. The pliers wrench goes on the flats, and this one actually will grab the corners. So it gets into tighter spots, and it also deals with a slightly different situation than the pliers wrench. And so it's good to have for the case where the pliers wrench can't get in. Again, jams it in right here. And then you got the twin grip. That's, you know, your basic slip joint plier. So you can get some big nuts here. But the other thing is it's got screw extraction on the tip. So you can grab the head of a screw that's been stripped out and just reef it on out. That goes here. And then I was running out of holes. Did I do that right? Is that? Oops. Raptor goes over here, sorry. One thing I did learn is that I built my pack that's the other house, my new house, over many, many months. And so these holes got nice and loose. And when I bought a new one of these things for my original house, it's like these things are really snug and you have to really work at making them fit. So I didn't have a lot more holes left. I had this one left and I needed that for something else. So I said, yeah, the needle nose can go down there. And then I have my pair of dikes, and again, Klein dikes. There's, you know, Channellock, Klein, and Knipex, they all make really good ones, but I think Klein's is right there. It's amongst the best. So that's what I switched up from Knipex to Klein. And so that's, I don't know what, 8 pliers right there that fit into 3 driver holes, screwdriver holes. It's nice and compact, and you can actually tell everything that's here. You got your twin grips, you got your dikes, you got your Cobra, Raptor. It's easy to tell because you're not looking at handles. So if I had to have a one and only screwdriver, it'd probably be the Klein with this magazine in the back. Okay, it's starting to convince me not to use it. So, but it's a little bit tough to open. But the thing is this has got almost all the bits you need. Plus, it's got the ECX bit, which is kind of cool. The ECX is this bit right here, which is a combination of square and Phillips, which is used for terminals in breaker boxes and onto light switches and outlets. So, but the main thing that makes this good is it's a ratcheting one, and you need at least one ratcheting head screwdriver. So there's that. Then I have my favorite kind of screwdriver I've been using for decades is this frickin' Mega Pro. It's got it's got 2 more bits than this does, so it's a little bit more complete. And I put ECX in this one too because damn, why not? This one's got a nice swivel here. Got a nice swivel here, and the bits. When you put a bit in this thing, it doesn't just fall out. Sometimes it does in that one. So this has got a more positive lock on the bits. And then, okay, so then I'm going to show you another screwdriver that I have, which is my beater Phillips. And it's got a removable shaft, but when it hits down there, it's actually going to a piece of steel that goes all the way to the cap. And you can beat on this thing all you want. And the good news is if you break or bend or otherwise screw up this tip, pull it out, get a new one. But rather than do that, I've actually got a pretty nifty little replacement bit for when I don't want to be beating on it. I can just use it as a handle because it's got this ball. It's got really good grip, so you can really reef on it. But I've got the Wera wrap adapter jams in there, and of course the wrap adapter is it's a very positive locking thing. And I put you can just put regular bits in there and it'll lock in really good. I usually stick in a Milwaukee bit extension. See, this is a nice solid bit extension because the magnetism on this magnet's really good. It really holds screws. But I only use this when I want to, when I need to have an additional bit that I'm using that doesn't get in the way of other bits, because sometimes you need maybe three bits slotted, ECX and Phillips maybe if you're doing outlet work. So it's nice to have 3 screwdrivers ready to go, but I usually leave it in this configuration. Jam it in there and put that there. And what I also have is the silver Sharpie. The silver Sharpie is more useful than you'd expect. It's, you can always use an ink saw. Ink saws are pretty great because they have a nice sharp tip and you can write pretty fine with them. They're really quite great. So I always have one of those. But this is handy. And this is only handy if you're writing on something light. But if you're writing on something dark, black on black isn't super useful. So you can do interesting things with dark on dark. One thing that I have done is on my set of Milwaukee bits or strippers, it was really hard for me to tell where the 12 and the 14 were at. And that's pretty much all DIYers and homeowners use is 12 and 14, maybe occasionally a 10. But I wanted to mark them so I could tell where the frick the stripping slot is, and so the silver Sharpie helped out there. I also got rather whimsical, and this is my beater screwdriver. This, rather than the beater Phillips, I got a beater slotted, and if you're a nerd, you totally get the why a beater is called that. And I jam that right here. Never let a geek have a Sharpie and label their tools, because I don't know if you noticed this thing, it's got that name. I'm so sad. So anyway, that goes there, and then the mirror is very nice for being able to see behind stuff, and I found this invaluable when I was installing my 5 ceiling fans in the new house, because ceiling fan, the scutcheon or the dome plate on that thing, they have 3 screws, and you can get the 2 right here really easily. But with this, you can reach around back, don't have to climb down the ladder, and you can get the 3rd one. Kind of nice if you're super lazy and don't want to climb down from the ladder, and I'm super lazy, so there's that. And this is yet another screwdriver head, but it's again the full-on Wera. This one has the extended thing, so it's kind of nice that it'll extend out. And then again the wrap adapter, so it's a nice locking head. And what's nice about this thing is that it works really well for light duty type things that are not really super heavy and using heavy bits and lots of torque. That torque is, I get most of my torque from something like this or this. But this is pretty useful in other circumstances where you've got small screws. The other is because the handle is kind of small. Feels a little bit like I've got monster hands when I'm running against this tiny little thing, but it's a really useful screwdriver, but not good for torquing on stuff. Okay, and let's see, what else do I have in there? Oh, I probably didn't even take it out. Yeah, I forgot. I left it in there. This is something you sort of need. I do, anyway. And that is your nippers. And this is for flush cutting snap ties. So if you ever get, cut a snap tie with a pair of dikes, what you usually leave is a nice sharp thing. It's almost like a frickin' vampire tooth, and you're just getting sliced and cut by those things all the time. And these things you can cut very close, and you'll never get hurt by another snap tie. So there's that, and put that in there. You don't need to get it that very often, so it's okay for it to be a little bit inaccessible. Then you got the good old-fashioned Pica Dry, your old-fashioned not old-fashioned. Pretty cool pencil. Sharpening the tip. You know, you got all long lead. It's a really great pencil. Locks in place there, so you can just pull it out, put it back in. Then my handheld flashlight, which is super useful. And then my good 4-in-1 Klein, which is for tiny screws, usually for terminals or things like that. And you got slotted Phillips, tiny Phillips, so it looks like maybe a double aught, and Phillips 0, and then another slotted. And you go ahead and jam that back in there, and then put up the sleeve, and so it's not going to jab at anything. It's not going to poke holes in this thing, so it's really nice. Okay, this level here, I got this one because it's super sleek, and I can actually jam it in between the screwdriver and this, and it fits really nice. And I did it backwards, and I specifically put the arrows on here so I wouldn't make that mistake. You want to point the arrows away from anything metallic because it can drag stuff back out of your case, because these are frickin' strong magnets, and you don't want to be dragging your tools back out of your bag, just pulling out a level. Okay, let's go into this part, the tape. This is a tape thong. It's called a thong because God knows why. It's just called a thong. I have on here 3 different kinds of tape. I have a standard electrical tape. I pick orange because I don't know, I got orange. It's color coordinated. I don't care. I'm not labeling phases, so I don't need to have a lot of colors. And it doesn't matter what color I have on here, because this is used for wrapping maybe outlets that are in a really tight box, so ground wire doesn't come in contact with a hot terminal or anything like that. So it's kind of handy to have something like that around. You can use electrical tape for all kinds of things, including just labeling wires and things like that. Then I have masking tape here. And masking tape is for, it's for whatever you use masking tape for, but I use it in order to make marks on the wall. So if you're going to hang something, or you're putting something on the wall and you don't want to put a mark on the wall, because once you mark a wall with a pencil or a pen or whatever, you never really get it clean again. So what I do is, it's just never going to behave. Let's go ahead and tear this crap off. What I do is I get a bit of tape, and I put it approximately where the mark's going to be. You know, within a quarter of an inch or an inch or whatever. You can guess where it's going to be. And then what you do is, let's just pretend that this is a point on the wall. You put this where you're going to make your mark. You make your mark, say in this case, my mark was here instead of on center. I made a good guess, and it's good enough that it's on there. And so now I have a mark on my wood, but I haven't marked the wood. I've actually just marked the tape. And then I take this lovely thing, which is my center punch, and go ahead and center punch that. And now I've got a nice place to drill or put a nail in or whatever without having marked anywhere near around the wall, so I'm not hurting. I haven't actually messed up my wall. So yes, masking tape is super useful. And finally, I have Teflon tape, which I use gas tape even on water lines. Probably not, you know, a plumber would probably say, why in the world are you doing that? And I'd say, why the fuck not? Because this is heavier gauge, requires fewer wraps to get as much coverage in the threads. So I use gas tape. I've been using gas tape forever and ever. This, I just latch on to this D-ring here. I put this on my D-ring here. It's got a nice contrast here of black on black, so it's really hard to see where I'm putting it. Okay, there's where it goes. Okay, I got oh, by the way, this center punch goes right here in this slot right here. Oh yeah, this lovely hammer. This is freaking gold, and it's not only just because it's expensive, but because it's an ideal weight hammer, both for carrying it inside a lighter case, and it's got the ripping claw, which does a really good job of getting into areas where you have to be able to pull clips or things that, you know, different kinds of wire connectors on the wall. You can use this to pull it out pretty quickly, because this can get really close, because again, really close, the handle doesn't get in the way. Plus it's got a horseshoe shaped head, so when you're going up against a ceiling or whatever, you got a lot of the head still in contact without just having this tangential curve there. And some guy on the internet, I looked on there, and he showed that you can stick a hammer like this in the belt loop, and it fits so nice. That guy's a freaking genius, all I can say. I got a few of these little swivel things, and that's how I hang these kinds of things onto the bag, so that they don't get all tangled up. This is just a set of bits that come with the Klein tool here, and it's just a small set of bits. They're very short, so these are shorter than anything you can find anywhere else. So again, oh god, I might get in here. They're super short. The reason why you need something short like that is sometimes you need to be able to get into a tight spot and go ratchet a screw in or out, because there's not a lot of clearance on the other side. These things, being small as they are, makes that possible. Another thing this is useful for is I don't like to have a bunch of bent hex keys. They take up a lot of room. They're irritating to actually figure out where to put them, you know, to sort them out and put them away. So I have a railer bit set with a ball tip hex keys. And so if I want to, you know, not have to worry about getting hex bits in, I just go ahead and let's just go ahead and take this off, because this is a little bit weird. Toss that in there, and now I can, you know, hex key my way in. You can't get it super tight with this head, but you can get it in pretty easy. And then what you do is, once you get it in most of the way, you pop the bit into here, and now you can ratchet it in, and now it's got the L shaped here, and it's actually got some torque on it, so it's good for that. And again, it's easy to find it where it goes. You'll never want to go back to frickin' L keys ever again. The other thing is, you can also use this goofy little head here for you know, your standard sockets, and you can see that it's got 5/16, 7/16, ½ inch, 1/8, and 1/4, and yeah, that covers just about everything. And again, you just go ahead and grab one of these things, toss it here, and now you got a socket head for the most common homeowner type bolts, and just jam it in there. And I got these things here too, and I'll show you what these are for. It's basically some neodymium magnets. And so sometimes you want to be able to reach something far away and pick it up and bring it back or whatever. And some people have a little reaching tool. Me, I just go ahead and have my frickin' tape measure and have my whatever magnets are on my tape measure, and I can pick up whatever the frick I want. I drop it on the floor, whatever, I can pick up anything. These things are strong magnets. And that way I don't have to have a you know, one of those telescoping reaching tools. This is my telescoping tool here. Plus, it's, you know, perfectly competent tape measure. By the way, the things that I just reached up and grabbed are these things, and these are nail sets. So if I wanted to, let's take a look, see if we can see this, maybe not. Yeah, let's put it up here. So if I wanted to do a nail set operation without a hammer, what these things do is just go ahead and you see it makes a nice mark, but it's actually enough to drive a nail further in. The weight of this pole here. And furthermore, you can use this right here will drive a hinge pin out, and you can do the same kind of thing. And same kind of thing when you want to drive the hinge pin in. This is the hammer that drives it back in. Kind of an esoteric, not necessary tool, but I just love it to death. It's just kind of handy. Even though I've got a hammer and I've got a set of linemen's that I could use as a hammer, I still like these. These are kind of nice. So this I call my pit of despair, because you can't put anything in there and expect to get it out pretty quick, very quick. So the Vito guys tried to make it useful by putting these little pockets in here for bit extenders or whatever. I mean, this thing would have a home in there if I really wanted to, because there's little pockets in there for it. But I hate those pockets. I hate them. So I'm not using them. Instead, what I do is I stick my good old Rhodia pad, and I can use it to make notes using my Pick a Dry, and like taking measurements so that you can go to the home center or whatever. You just have your notes with you. And then I have this as my super cheap headlamp. I use a headlamp way more often than a handheld flashlight, and I use a cheap one because I'm a flake and it's possible I'll lose them, and it's heartbreaking to lose something expensive. So I just don't own anything expensive like this. Just jam that in, and we just pretend that pocket doesn't exist until we need a frickin' yeah, until we need that. So let me put this back on there. And again, I got these rings with some swivels on them. Super nice for getting rid of those. This my excuse me. This is these things are made by the engineering company, but when they're got the orange handles or the red handles, they're made by Vampire, or they're branded Vampire. The Vampire ones cost about $10 more, so go green. And just jam those in over here. And these things, and the sheath stays there. These things are super sharp, and you can actually probably lop my finger off with them if I really want to reef on them. And then I got a nice little long hand. Oh, shoot. The cool thing about this one is, yes, it's got the long blade, but this is super flexy, and it's not really good if you're trying to cut through foam or anything else that needs a long stretch of blade. So this one actually comes with a back thing that you can extend, and now it's pretty rigid. Really handy. And again, if you've used these things before, you know that you can break off these tips, and so it exposes more sharp edge. Okay, it's the way to go. And putting this here, we're gonna switch gears and move around the back side because I got everything on the front put away, I think, pretty much. On the back side, when I made my first bag, Amazon had these nifty little tool bags that are about 8 inches long by 5 inches deep, and they had loops on both sides, so that it was easy for you to snap tie them onto the D-ring. And then they stopped frickin' selling them. So I found out that the Maxpedition Cocoon, the bigger one, works just about perfectly for this. And so I use this for my tick tracer, which I shove up into the upper side of this thing. And then my outlet tester, pretty elaborate, more elaborate than it needs to be, but there you go. And the plastic razor knife, which you should, you know, put your laptop away or your phone away or whatever and go buy some of these. They're really useful. There's ways to get scrape glue or goo off of things. I use it to actually scrape off of the paint on my pickup hood. I was able to scrape off a whole bunch of pitch, which when you rub on with, I don't know, different kinds of paste waxes or whatever you're hoping is going to dissolve it, doesn't work so much. You use this stuff and just go at it, and it works pretty good and doesn't scratch the surface. So it's pretty handy. You know, be careful, but it's really, really useful. And it turns out that gets in to pretty much anywhere, and you can. And again, it's the D-ring right here. We've just got a snap tie on there holding this all on here. And but this, by the way, is where I hold my neodymium magnets, is on this little clip back here. I got some more here. And so, supposedly you're supposed to be able to use that clip to clip it to your belt. I'd say you're insane if you want to do something like that, because it's going to pull your pants off or tear your pants off. So I wouldn't do it. I just use a freaking handle. I hear some people want to, you know, get a shoulder strap on this stuff. Maybe. I've never found myself using a tool case like that. But this thing is pretty ideal. It's been tested in 2 different homes now. And for all the tasks that I need to do, it's got me covered. And again, everything is super easy to find. And again, by not using these pouches for screwdrivers, I'm able to get a frick ton of hand tools in there that I would otherwise wouldn't be able to get into there. So that's it. Unless you want to see, yes, I have these. The railer bits actually just clip onto my little D-ring, my ring here. So that's it. I can carry this anywhere, and I have every tool that I need, except for an impact drill. I sometimes carry around my Milwaukee bag that has my impact driver, a regular drill, some bits, and maybe a meter. And so those 2 bags between them are enough, and certainly less than 45 pounds. It's a really complete set of tools. That's it. Bye for now.